Hey guys, Jake here again. Today we're going to be doing an unboxing and install and a small review of the Carobotor Jpro, and we're going to be installing it into the Jeep. And here's the Jpro. It was finally sent to me by Carobotor. I know there's quite a few videos on the internet already of how to install and how the Jpro works. However, I figured I would do one as well, and also how it's going to work out with the K1. On that, let's get to opening. And in opening the Jpro, we just pull this tab, lift on up, and we have a piece of foam covering the unit. Attached to it is an activation code. This code is going to be unique to my unit, as every unit is going to be unique to the VIN of the vehicle that you have, so it cannot be interchanged later on. Underneath we have an instruction manual. We have two wire harnesses. These wire harnesses are going to be used for synchronizing information from your OEM unit to the Jpro. It's going to bring over information such as your odometer. Underneath that we have a USB 3 to USB-C. This is going to be used for updating the Jpro. There was some word stating that this cable would be used for synchronizing the Jpro with the K1 unit. However, I have not seen anything on that yet. To the left, we have new buttons that are going to go onto the steering wheel. These buttons actually feel a little bit better than OEM. It gets rid of the Uconnect system where you'd have the little head right there for activating the Uconnect in place of an OK. These buttons have a rubberized texture on them instead of just the hard plastic that's on the OEM buttons on your steering wheel. Underneath the next layer of plastic, we have the head unit itself. Not the head unit, the cluster. And here it is. Pretty lightweight, obviously heavier than OEM. You can see it says Carobotor on each side. And on the rear, we have our ports. This is where we're going to hook up the T-harnesses that are provided, as well as plugging it into the vehicle itself. All right, see you inside the Jeep. All right guys, we're in the Jeep, and I will now show you how to make your dash go from this to this. So now I have both the K1 and the Jpro fully installed into the Wrangler. First thing you're going to want to do is remove both of the vents by pushing the tab down inside, twisting them, and slowly wiggling them out so they look like this. Next step is going to be popping out your window selectors, and by utilizing the tab within that orange one, I'm going to push it up and pop out the wire harness. After the window selectors are removed, you're going to remove this screw right in the middle. Next, we're going to remove the screw on top of the dash, holding the panel in. We're gently going to pull out the head unit. With the dash and trim panel pulled off, you're going to come underneath and lightly tug down on this panel and remove it. With this panel removed, we'll now be able to unscrew one screw on the left of the steering wheel and one on the right. With those two screws removed, we were able to pull off the dash, exposing an additional 4 screws. 2 on the right, one down low and one up high. And again, one up high and one down low on the left of the cluster area. You are now able to remove the factory cluster, and what you're going to do is press down on these tabs here and the tab here to remove the 2 harnesses that are holding your OEM cluster into the dash. Okay, so to give you an idea of what the color coordination looks like with the harnesses, you just match color with color. So you take the Jpro, you'll have a tan and a black plug on the passenger, or closest to the passenger side of the vehicle. And you match that with what goes into the dash and into your OEM cluster, leaving this wire plugged in. You will then turn your key into accessory mode. And it should fire up the Jpro. Now I will put in my activation code. With the activation code, it will begin to synchronize. And there it is. It's all fired up. Looks so much better in person than it does in video. It doesn't really do it justice. I will update you with it set up. The reinstallation is just plugging it back into the OEM wires, reinserting the 4 screws, placing your dash back together, followed by your windows. Input the screws into the window area as well as on top, and pushing everything back together. Alright, so I've had some time to play with the Jpro. I took it on a quick ride, got everything set up to be miles per hour instead of kilometers per hour, as well as, you know, Fahrenheit as opposed to Celsius, and everything seems to work. The compass is working as it should, the elevation is working as it should. Everything with the K1 is working as it should. It shows my pitch and roll perfectly fine. It's actually calibrated quite well. I took it on a few hills and everything is working on par. I have no complaints with it so far. I know I was getting some questions on whether or not media will display on the Jpro from the K1. I found that the only way to get media on here so far is when I turn on the radio. So now that I have the radio 100.7, it'll show 100.7 at the bottom here. Now if I change it to 92.5, it will show 92.5 on here. The only other way to get music on the Jpro is if you have it downloaded onto a USB drive and it's converted as an MP3 file. Then it will show up on this music icon here, and it would display on the Jpro. Now we're not able to access maps yet. However, with future updates, hopefully we can. Media may be a little bit better. I went into the media tab screen. You can see I have 92.5 on there. I'll do 102.1 on the K1, and 102.1 will now show on the Jpro. And just to show that navigation does not work yet, I pull it up and I'll go into navigation on here and nothing is happening. So hopefully with the future update, something will happen where we can at least get Google Maps to work with navigation. I'm not too worried about it now because as it is, I just use the maps through Apple CarPlay on the K1. So in the future, if we're able to get something where it'll be able to read the maps from, you know, the nav section here or the nav section here, perfect. And when that update becomes available, if it is ever available, I will let you know and make an updated video then. Alright, thank you for watching.